Alright, so I may have misled you in the last video. We actually have one more page in 10.1 before we move to 10.2. So we're going to look at simplifying some other radicals that may be a little bit different than the ones we've simplified in the past. So we're asked to simplify each of these roots. Now, anytime there's some operations underneath the radical is like a grouping symbol, so we need to do those operations first and then take the root. Negative 9 squared, hopefully you know that's 81, right? So we do the square root of 81. If you look at this initially, you might say, well, we can't take the square root of a negative. But we're not taking the square root of a negative, we're taking the square root of a negative squared. So we square the negative first, we get 81, and now we can take the square root of 81, which is 9. The next one, the negative's on the outside, so we can ignore that for a bit. We take the fifth root of x to the fifth. What do you think that's going to be? What can I multiply by itself 5 times to get x to the fifth? And hopefully, in your little minds, you're saying, I know I can take x to the fifth power to get x to the fifth. So this is just going to be the negative, which gets carried along. The fifth root of x to the fifth is just x. Now, one thing I might introduce at this point in time is the equivalent fractional power of the fifth root of x. A square root is really the same as the 1/2 power. A fifth root is the same as the 1/5 power. So we could write this equivalently as, so if I want to rewrite this with a fractional power, the negative sign is there. I could write this as x to the fifth to the 1/5 power. And if you like that better than the roots, you're welcome to use it. Now you can see what happens clearly. If you take a power to a power, you multiply the exponents. 5 times 1/5 is 1, right? So we get negative x to the first, which is negative x. Either way we do this, we get a negative x, right? And put a box around this guy too. The next one, we have the fourth root of x to the 16th with our negative in front, and that negative is going to get carried along. I'm going to do this the fractional power way. The fourth root is the same as the 1/4 power. So we have x to the 16th to the 1/4. Well, when we take a power to a power, we multiply the exponents. 16 times the fourth is just 4, right? So this becomes negative x to the fourth. Okay. Again, power to a power, 16 times the fourth is 4. You could also look at this and say, what times itself 4 times will give me x to the 16th? If you take x to the fourth times itself 4 times, you will get x to the 16th. Either way, this is our answer. Now the last part, the last two questions are the type that you may like the best. You're just asked to plug this into your calculator and find an approximation rounded to the nearest thousandth. Thousandth means, what, 3 decimal places, okay? Because you have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, okay? That's 3 decimal places. So we take the cube root of, what happened to my calculator? Cube root of 701. It's not going to come out to a nice number, but I'm going to do 3 second, the caret key, so that's the third root, 701, and see what it tells me. 8.88326660. Okay, so we go to 3 decimal places, which is the 3. We look after it. If that's 5 or greater, we would round this up. If it's 4 or less, we're going to leave that a 3. So we have 8.883 to the nearest thousandth. So it's approximately 8.883. And so to the nearest thousandth, our answer is 8.883. The next one, we have negative square root of 990. Now the negative's on the outside, so it's okay. We're not taking the square root of a negative. We're taking the square root of a positive and then applying the negative, right? So let's see what the square root of 990 is first. So I'm going to do, this time we just have to do the square root, so I'm going to do second and the x squared button. All right, 990. What is that? All right, 31.464. Again, we look after the 4. That's a 2. It's less than 5, so we don't do anything with the 4. Leave it alone. So 31.464. Now this negative is here also, so that's approximately negative 31.464. Okay, 31.464. So the negative 31.464 is our answer to the nearest thousandth. All right, finally we finished section 10.1, and now we will definitely move on to 10.2 in the next video.